Bigfoot Collectors Club presents
terrifying tales from zombie Bigfoot's cryptid crypt. I know a ghost story about you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan, putting my phone into Do Not Disturb. With me always.
Already did that.
With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson. That was so braggadocious.
What are you wearing?
Let's get it out of the way. Terrifier 3 sunglasses out in theaters soon.
Are those official?
Go there.
Are
Buddy,
they?
Yeah.
Are there official T3 sunglasses?
I was at Spirit Halloween today, my friend.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Notably
absent today is super producer Riley Bray. Don't worry. He's being a rock star this week. He didn't have time to podcast. He's traveling. He's on a plane right now. We love him. He'll be back next week. Instead, for this week 2 of Terrifying Tales from Zombie Bigfoot's Crypt, we have a hilarious guest joining us for this installment. He's got a brand new stand-up special out now called The Path of Most Resistance, which you can find on 800-Pound Gorilla and on YouTube, I'm told. Cannot wait to watch it. Club Scouts of all timelines, please welcome to the clubhouse for the very first time, James Adomian. James!
Thank you. So great to be here.
James, is that your altar behind you? Is that your magic altar? I see a candle.
It's a good one.
And a
If it is, it's a good one.
It's I think those are post-it notes, actually.
Well, you know what they say when it comes to magic, you can use whatever tools you need. It's all about how you approach it.
Yes, love
the esoteric ritual of the post-its.
All right, we're gonna talk to James about spooky stuff. But before we do that, Bryce, why don't you nominate our 5-star Club Scout of the Week? This is a friend who gave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, which we're told helps get the show to more people. Almost 7 years later, I don't know if that's true or not, but
I think
we'll read it anyway.
Hey, why not? Here's from Rachel with lots of ones. One of my faves. Love this podcast. My all-time favorite. 10 out of 10. Would brush weird alien wizard beards with these friends anytime. I added that. 5 stars. Woo!
Wow. Thank you, Rachel. 111111. I don't recognize the reference to alien wizard beards. Is that something we said or just something that Rachel's inviting us to do?
Either way, I'm game.
I don't remember.
I don't recall it either. It sounds about right, though.
I don't know. James.
Alien wizard beards. F yeah.
Yeah.
Alien wizard beards. They're going to just be pretty much tentacles, right? I mean, there's not any hair, right?
Let me just jump right in. Yeah. James, do you think aliens are just maybe wizards from the past or future flying around astrally?
My mind.
Yeah.
They could be from an advanced past or an advanced future.
I like the advanced past time traveler, like they're the Atlantean time. That's more fun. That's how you sell the deal in the room.
We do not have the technology to save our doomed civilization, but we can go visit the time of television.
Maybe
Priorities.
Yes. We are looking for I Love Lucy. Can it save us? Maybe not. James, we ask all of our guests, what is your personal paranormal history? Have you ever met a time-traveling wizard? Have you ever had something happen to you that you can't explain?
Many things.
Really?
Over the years, yes. And I sometimes I believe it, and sometimes I don't, and sometimes I don't care.
Great.
Awesome.
And then sometimes I ask myself, what happened? What really happened? And I fall asleep in the middle of asking.
This is great because I feel like, and maybe this is an unfair stigma, but a lot of the stand-ups we've had on the show tend to be skeptical, and we tend to find actors are very open to this stuff, and comedians tend to be a little bit like, I don't know about this.
I came from the theater.
There you go.
Stand-up to me is an art form.
Yes.
Branches out of the sacred art of Dionysus.
Yes.
There you go.
Bacchanalia.
Yes. So, I mean, there was a time when I didn't have a cell phone there's an overlapping time where I was almost not on social media at all. And during times like that, the less I'm on my phone, the less I'm on social media, the more I'm just walking around connected to the world. The more, and it still happens occasionally, but the more people will connect with me, like out of nowhere, in line at a store, out in the street, on the subway or bus or whatever, and people will be like, "You are of the spirit world," and not only visibly crazy people.
Like people I know. Yeah.
Sometimes, they won't even they'll be quiet about it and they'll be like, I see someone else who's in the spirit world. And that's nice to think. But then I'm like, I'll think about it and be like, well, what am I supposed to do? What is it? There's nobody ever shows up with a quest. They just say,
yeah,
you were of the awakened kind. And I'm like, yes. Where's the dragons and so forth?
Wait a minute. I got to know more about your world where like every few blocks or so, there's like a little old man or a little old lady with a twinkle in their eye that like senses your magic.
If I'm particularly turned on to, if I'm connected and at peace and not distracted by the internet, it happens more often, but even then, like less than once a week. But like, I remember one time I was feeling really good and walking down the street and sort of connected to the higher dimensions, and a guy stopped and started crying and was just like, thank you.
No way.
What?
Yeah. And I was wearing all blue at the time, so like head to toe blue.
Okay.
So it was definitely it was a big statement. So I do it, people, I listen to street prophets and stuff, and people are like, and sometimes I always take it with like a spoonful of salt, because they'll be like, you need to go to India. You're a special purpose. You must travel to India.
Wait, I want to go back. What do you mean you listen to street prophets? Like, how long are we talking here?
I talk to people who have interesting stories.
Yeah.
I talk to people on the train and the bus. I talk to people out, in wherever you see people. I talk to people out in the world.
That's
so
fun.
not just, I was picturing those guys with the signs and the bullhorn and you just standing there listening.
Not going like, this one's good. This one's
good. Right. I like this one.
Vine, the guy over on Vine is not as good as this guy.
Just 4 inches from the mouth of the bullhorn.
Right.
Just blasting into your face. No, you're talking about like fellow travelers out and about the world.
Gotcha.
Where you're like a punk rock fan, but you're like, I go to all the fucking
just standing there, arms crossed.
This guy's good. People come from San Bernardino to hear this.
You get a little older, you start putting your earplugs in when you go.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. So that's one thing that happens, and again, I remember these things and can retell them whether I believe it or not. And I don't think I need to decide. It's just like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a series of coincidences. But I have also, there's a couple of weird ghost experiences, and I'm not going to lean on things that were from my early childhood because then it's like, maybe my brain didn't work.
I don't know though. I mean, we all have stuff from our early, all have stuff from our early childhood, but we have stuff. Bryce and I have stuff from our early childhood.
And we're not sure if our brain works either. So maybe
I'm not sure if it works now.
But even like as an adult, there was a distinct episode at a house I used to live in here in Hollywood, and I lived in a house with a bunch of other people. It's the way you save when you're in your 20s. And so and this house is still standing, but it just recently got boarded up, and I feel like they're going to finally tear it down. But it's a house from 1913, maybe 1912, 1913, something like that. Old house. It became 100 years old at the time that we lived there. And like many houses in the LA Hollywood area, it was on a list of houses that had probably been inhabited by Charlie Chaplin at a certain time. And
got around.
It's not that great a curiosity because he was one of these guys that like notoriously would move every year or two.
Yep.
So there's lots and lots of old buildings in Hollywood or West Hollywood where they're like, Charlie Chaplin used to live here. And then it's like, yeah, take a number.
Sounds like me. I think my first 7 years, I lived in like 12 different apartments or with like different in a couple different cities, like I was a real vagabond.
I wondered if that was because back in those days, that was the best way to avoid like fans that were like, oh, they found out where I live. Time to move.
Yeah. Fans and police.
So what was the haunting in the Hollywood house?
Yeah, we called it, the nickname was the Midnight Mansion because we were doing a show called the Midnight Show back then at Upright Citizens Brigade. So it was the Midnight Mansion, and there was a lot of parties there, but sometimes it was quiet because everyone was hungover. And so this was a relative, and there was 6 other people living in the house. Big house. Bedrooms, somebody lived in the attic. And so I was down in the big giant one-room living room, dining room, like a old craftsman style, all wood. And I was down there and I had passed out and it was very late at night. And there was no TVs on. And I believe, if I recall correctly, my phone was dead. So there was no radio, there was no TV on. Everybody was asleep or out of town or whatever. And there was a distinct feeling of someone being right above me as I was sleeping on the couch, and someone right above me and not touching or messing with me, but like breathing and looking at me.
Oh, geez.
And I kind of woke up groggily, and I kind of like went to be like, "Hey, leave me alone, man!" Like it was one of my roommates or something. Like, or like, oh, well, hey, want to hang out, watch something? And I kind of looked up, and there was no one there. And then I still felt the presence while awake. And that it didn't leave.
Oof.
That scared me, and I was like very loud in a voice that I would not imitate here without a soundproof studio.
What did you say to this apparition?
Like, get the fuck away from me.
Wow.
And I jumped up over the sofa and sort of tried to push back to the wall. And I said I was in my 20s, but I think I was probably about exactly 31 when this happened. Early. And
James, did you get a sense of the identity of the apparition? Maybe male, female, time period? Sorry, I'm getting ahead of my excited here.
Male. Okay. And I thought so. Yeah, it's a male figure, and I didn't know like, oh, it's a ghost. I was like, is it a roommate? No. And then I was like, is it an intruder who ran away really quickly? Like if somebody messed with me and then like ran out.
Presence.
So that's why I tried to jump up really quick and catch them before they, like, if somebody had come in and left. And then I was like, well, if he's an attractive gentleman, then maybe it is Hollywood.
Invite him to stay.
Yeah, see? But then nothing was there. But then there was this distinct afterglow. I don't know. Like it didn't go away when I confronted it. It didn't go away. It still was there. And I was wide awake alert at this point. Like adrenaline, like
you could still feel the presence. Are you saying or you're not saying that there was like a light?
But almost like imagine if you tap someone, ink, 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 and then you go whoop, and you can't catch me. It was like that.
Oh man, that's fucked up.
But it was like playing a prank. And I have always thought since then, I found out after that the chaplain had lived in the house, and I was living in the room that he had lived in, the master bedroom in the house. And I had always thought that it could be chaplain or,
James,
pick a number.
I was going to say, are you going to tell me you got ghosted by chaplain? You better get in line, buddy.
Yeah, it happens all over LA and probably Switzerland too. And
that's pretty interesting though, man. I mean,
but yeah, it could have also just been because there was like dozens and dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of people who lived in that house over the years. And so God knows how many people. I actually talked to I don't know if you know, the screenwriter Josh Olson actually also lived in that house years before my group did, and with another group of people back when he was young, and he had said that he was in connection with like that it had been a place where there were seminary students, like Catholic priest seminary students.
Oh, interesting.
As a dormitory at one point, and that it had been a house full of hippies at 2 other times.
Fun.
In the 60s and 70s, separated by years, that it had been like a love commune. And and it had gone through every kind of phase. Like there was like a couple of different punk rock phases and stuff. And like the mail that accumulated at this house, you would get mail from people that had lived there for decades. And
that's awesome.
Decades in the past. And one time, even we were there, we would always hang out on the porch. Nice porch, craftsman porch, good place to hang out, especially when it's hot. And we were on the porch hanging out, and some older guy, 50-year-old man, pulls up in his car, and we're like, "Can we help you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to live here back in 1991, and I remember a lot of mail used to pile up, and I've got some important mail I'm trying to."
Oh, that's funny.
Just wanted to know if maybe there was some mail for me here. If I might go through. Do you have a stack of it? Can I go?
Yeah. You mind if I look in your fridge? I got some fond memories of that fridge. Really fond memories.
I love that he knew. Wait a minute. I do remember a big pile of mail at that place I lived in 91. Like he's
probably hoping for a check or two, like probably down and out. Like
or some, who knows? Maybe it was like a life insurance policy, whatever. But it never. It was so much mail you couldn't keep throwing it out. It had to stack up because you're like, I'm not going to throw it out twice a day.
I feel like the mail itself is like taking on its own energy and consciousness, and maybe you had the disembodied spirit of the mail waking you up in the middle of the night.
Combined postal essence of all the previous residents.
I do love this idea of a house that seems to, over the years, been for groups and for found families, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's really interesting because I think that's definitely going to attract a different kind of energy and
so
perhaps
much fun energy, so much intense energy.
Well, and also perhaps like, they say in hauntings, you have your residual hauntings that are ghosts that live there, and then you have visitors. And maybe a place with that kind of energy is just attracting any sort of drifter spirit that's coming through Hollywood.
Some spirit goes like, "Hey, I used to haunt this house a long time ago, and I know a lot of people come through here. I want to know if you get any mail for me."
I'm looking for ghost mail.
All right, well, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more fun, scary stuff with James.
Ghost mail, that's going down on the song list.
Okay, we're talking to James Adomian. James, what other spooky ghost stuff do you have other than the
how about UFOs?
The hippie commune house.
Any other sort of?
There was another haunting. If you want to hear about it, it's less. It over the years, it happens here and there where you're like, sometimes you ask, you move into a place, and you're like, oh, what's the history? And you hear something that maybe is not what you want to hear about where you're going to be living. Or there would be other moments where I would have some unexplained sound or something, and it's like, well, it very well could be the wind or a rat in the walls or whatever. But I was like, my new policy is, I ended up apologizing to that if that was a spirit and not like a raccoon on the roof or whatever. Like I ended up being like, okay, sorry, I don't want to start a war with you, so like just leave me alone. And I think I practiced either that night or soon after. I started practicing this thing of like lighting a candle occasionally, maybe leaving a little small I think I did. I left out a small shot glass of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like try to be like, okay, I don't need you. I'm not going to be, don't haunt me.
Sit in your corner, sip your little cup of whiskey, and leave me alone.
I'll leave you a cigar that's like, if it's a stale cigar, I'm not going to smoke it. Right. Sure. I'm going to leave you a cigar and a little whiskey.
I love that you're saying this, but really you are slowly becoming friends with the ghost. Like,
I mean,
I'm not going to do it.
That's what's happened before, is that I have if I get slightly even suspicious where it's like, all right, something might be happening, I'll just leave something out for him. And you don't leave it out forever, but it's like, all right, okay, all right, welcome back.
You realize you're now gifting spirits. You're pretty much starting the communication process. Well, I mean, I guess secondhand after you're being
manifestation process.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a no-no. But
really? I don't call them into my life. I wait until I experience something, and I would not do this to a spirit that felt like malignant or evil, maleficent.
Yeah.
But somebody who is just like, I was sad when I was alive. I'm like, okay, no problem. Here, have a little whiskey.
Here you go.
Stick around for a minute, and I'll even say, like, don't come after me. It's a peaceful place. But also there's a hotel in Austin, Texas. I think it was the Stephen F. Austin Hotel, old hotel from I believe the 1890s. And they had a suite that I got bumped up to during South by Southwest. And I was there with my friends, staying with a couple friends in a hotel suite. And it was either like the presidential suite or the governor's suite or something like that. And they tell you at the front desk, they're like, and it's on the propagandas on their website where they're like, it's haunted. And people have reported many hauntings. And I swear to fucking God, my friends were sleeping out in the other room, and I was in the bedroom I was in the middle of the night. I think it was the first night we were there. In the middle of the night, the light started coming on and off, and it started slowly at first. And then when I bolted up and went to them, like, come help, 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 they all came in and saw it. And then by then it was like signaling. And I'm like, sure, there's a twitch in the wire. There's a wind in the wire that affects the electricity of that room. Very possible. But I was also like, I'm gonna sleep on the floor out in the hallway till tomorrow. I think
try to talk to it? Did you guys try to see if it would answer questions through the flickering of the light?
Well, once we were all up and looking at it, we were kind of laughing.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, okay, this is amazing. The thrill ride pays off as advertised.
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder if it is the presidential suite. How was George W. Bush there? I appreciate the ghost. Appreciate the ghost. I sent many people to their afterlives. Okay. I'm very ghost. I appreciate that. I feel very ghostful myself.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Could you paint a portrait of me, please?
And then you wonder, does the ghost in the presidential suite, does it lose an election and get replaced by another?
Yeah, yeah. He's also running.
There's term limits. Yeah. There's ghost term limits for sure.
I really wonder.
Absolutely. So what do you, it sounds like with these couple, I'm putting the picture of James together. You seem very open, and you've had these experiences, and you said there was some stuff that you may or may not be sure about as a kid. I'm just wondering if this stuff has followed you around your whole life, and maybe some of these fellow travelers are correct that you're a special guy.
I would say it was a dream, except it's a shared memory with one of my brothers.
Okay, we got it here.
Very, very, very young, that we woke up at the same time, looked at each other, and we were in a car being driven by no one on the freeway. Oh. And that other people were looking at us going like, how, oh my God, there's two kids in a car being driven by no one.
Whoa. I've never heard anything like that.
And it's a shared memory. We have the same memory. And
that's really
it's kind of spooky. And then you're like, well, did we both dream the same thing at the same time? Two young brains napping next to each other. Maybe the dream hops over with the electrical synapses. I don't know, but
if I'm writing this book, you guys both crossed over to the other side and got a little preview, and everyone was surprised because I think you guys astral projected into the spirit realm.
They hijacked a ghost car.
Yeah, and people's like, wait a minute,
an after death car.
Everyone's surprised because you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah,
that's they weren't like, oh, this car is being driven. There's no driver and there's kids in it. They were like, how'd they get over here from the real
right?
Yeah,
that's fucking interesting. How did you feel the next day? Do you recall feeling pretty healthy afterwards, or was there like,
Oh, fine.
like,
Yeah, we weren't
yeah,
hurt or anything. And something, I
mm,
don't remember how it resolved. We have this
yeah,
memory, but neither of us remembers how it was resolved in the moment.
that
So
is
if it was a dream, it
wild.
was a shared dream.
Which
Which is cool
possible.
enough.
Yeah,
Which
I
does
mean,
happen.
it
People
does.
that is not unremarked upon in the histories of human experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
But Michael, I like that theory somehow better because, shared dreams, it's possible, but it sounded like you guys shared an experience more than just a dream space,
right.
Very interesting.
And I think this is another thing that happens that a lot of people have experienced where in the moment of crisis, if there's someone you're connected to or that's important, you're connected to them in a
Mhm.
moment of great crisis or death where you think of that person, or if someone almost dies, that you were thinking about that person, if there's some emergency or something. And I have it all the time, and I've tried to figure out how to train myself to use it, but I can't. It's just I will randomly be thinking about someone and then look in the news and find out that they died, like the very
No.
time I was thinking about it.
You've got a little touch of the shinning for sure.
I think so.
I think you've got it. I think
And it's
these
not only public figures, it's people that I've don't only known privately. Sometimes it's friends of mine and that have passed on tragically, and sometimes it's like public figures that I never even know, and sometimes it's just people in my family or childhood or something like that, where I'm like I'm out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I was in New York City one time, and someone I knew, I was like, oh, I wonder if he ever got to New York, and then found out within the hour that he had just passed away.
whoa.
Makes me think that, and I don't know, it makes me think that when you die, you get like, they're like, all right, you get 3 cards. You get to visit 3 people before you.
Think of it like this, like a radio station, like a finely tuned radio station, the afterlife, and you're just dancing around it. You know what I mean? You're coming in a little fuzzy, but you're there. You're near the station,
Right, right. And I don't know how it works. That's the other thing too. I never trained for any of this stuff because I never, I don't, I'm not sitting around like Mary Baker Eddy, Mary
Yeah.
Baker Eddy trying to like
Yet.
commune with dead spirits and stuff. And I have been to psychics and I respect them. And it's a fun game for me, mostly tarot cards and things like that. Or it's kind of like, it's like motivational affirmations that you can do for yourself through tarot cards.
You gotta take the advice of some of these people that have come up to you on the street. You gotta go to India. You gotta go to some of these places and see if you can train, get your superpowers.
Oh my gosh.
Amped up.
You're right. Here
Like-
I am babbling like, this guy is idiot said I should go. And then meanwhile, like that was the quest.
Yeah, no,
You could be
yes.
the next Ram Dass. Just drop everything right now and head to India with nothing and just look for your guru.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I have not yet done ayahuasca, so I haven't really participated in any like give up your entire life kinds of trips.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, I've always come back.
He was high
from
on
the
acid.
mushroom.
I'll give you that. Lots of acid.
I'd like to gamble with just having my identity as opposed to not having my identity any longer. I'll go with it. I'll hold on to the ego. I'll be fine with it. I'm afraid of like slipping
for a
down the
while,
mouth of some giant anaconda.
My feeling is
Ghost.
I'm gonna lose it anyway, sooner or later. What is the hurry?
Yeah. I do think in some sense though, some of this stuff is just kind of like training for the big game. I think some of this is like, hey, this is what's coming on the other side. So
a preview where you might get lucky enough to see a preview of what happens, basically.
yeah. So it doesn't
Yeah.
like blow your mind.
Yeah,
Doesn't
or start thinking about
shatter
it.
you when it happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know it might all exist in the but what was the gland up there inside the brain?
The malignant.
Pineal, pituitary.
The DMT
pineal.
The pineal gland. Yeah.
All of this shit might exist in the pineal gland, and every vision of heaven and hell might be a very powerful hallucination that living creatures have at the moment of death.
Yeah. When it
Whether
all
they're-
just floods you.
Whether you're a rose bush or a person, and maybe it's, fungal intelligence that's inside of all living bodies that is
Don't
smarter.
get Bryce started on fungal intelligence.
There you go.
Listen, man, you're preaching to the choir, man. I love it. Vegetable Matrix. Everybody tap in.
Well,
The
James,
mycelium.
yes. James, we have a game that we like to play with all of our guests. I'm going to go down a list of phenomena, rapid fire style. All right. Now, this is the you've got to choose. If you're open to it, you're going to say believe it. If you're not open to it, you're going to say bullshit. Right now, there's no in between. But
There's no in between.
No, but we can come back and talk about. We can unpack some stuff
Okay.
after we go through the list.
All right, so I'm playing a game.
Playing a game. This is a game we call bullshit
or believe it.
This is the
Good.
zombie
Good voice,
Bigfoot edition. Excellent voice, Bryce. Okay, here we go. James Adomian, on your mark, get set, ghosts.
I'm open to it.
Gotta say, believe it.
I believe it.
Bigfoot. You can use inflection.
I bullshit.
Aliens.
I believe it.
Demonic possession.
Bullshit.
Ouija boards.
Believe it.
Werewolves.
Bullshit.
Witches.
Believe it.
Vampires.
Bullshit.
Black cats are bad luck.
Bullshit.
Levitation.
Bullshit.
Graveyards are haunted.
Believe it.
Fortune telling.
Believe it.
The mummy's curse.
Believe it.
Zombies.
Bullshit.
Killing spiders when you find them in your house.
You believe it.
Scientists have created genetic monstrosities.
Believe it.
Speaking to the dead.
Believe it.
Full moons lead to lunacy.
Believe it.
The owls are not what they seem.
Believe it.
Curses.
Bullshit.
Tricks.
Believe it.
Treats.
Bullshit.
Well done. Is there
done.
any that you want to go back and revisit? You kind of hemmed and hawed about Bigfoot a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So Bigfoot, I'm like, this falls into the category for me of this.
Great.
You cannot rule it out that there's some like pre-Homo sapien species that that was smart enough to avoid contact and live in the caves. It can't be ruled out because we can't survey every area that things can live.
Okay.
Corinthian.
But I haven't seen any
system.
evidence of it.
Right. Okay.
That's
great.
a great answer.
That's the best Bigfoot answer I think we've ever had.
I'm not kidding. I've heard a lot of Bigfoot answers. That was really, I like that one.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Because listen, I'll tell you what, right? All one needs to do is just fly over one time that Pacific Northwest, look down below to see all that acreage of just dense forest, I totally like that. And you're absolutely right about the cave system. From east to west, it's just massive and labyrinthian. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, incredible. Love that. Moving on. Michael, what else?
There was one more that jumped out at me. Where are you on aliens?
Yeah.
Okay, I also have not seen what I would call evidence of aliens, and I'm largely skeptical about it. What did I say? I forgot what I said.
I think you said believe it, but it was like,
yeah. So again, you can't rule it out. You could say this about everything though, but you can't rule it out. And I think I would be, okay. There's a lot of UFO sightings that tend to happen around military bases.
Yeah.
There's also secret military projects that you're not allowed to know what their airplane capabilities are.
100%.
The technology we know about is from the 80s.
Totally.
And you're not allowed to know the cutting edge electromagnetic pulses and vehicles and energy directions and stuff. Like, okay, they unveiled microwave weapons in the early 2000s and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that they do that you're not allowed to know about.
And we have to remember too that a lot of these test vehicles are not in their final forms. It took a lot of tries before they got a rocket right.
Yeah.
Right. So there could be something that someone's like, well, I saw this thing 30 years ago. And if that's true, how come it's not normal? How come we don't see it today? And it's like, well, that may have not worked.
That's right. And to James's point, they're always developing new tech. So even what we see or what we think is the most tech savvy thing in the air today, wrong. We're probably
that's just what's to market.
We're about 15, 20 years outside of the purview picture. So you're good at this. Do you need a job in the paranormal?
I don't know.
You are very
I would love to play that part. I would love to play the part of one of those guys. One of the like an Art Bell.
Yeah. You make a great Art Bell.
Well, you're just very pointed.
East of the Rockies, the number is 800.
Perfect.
West of the Rockies.
I want to hear about it.
Our final guest this 4-hour segment is I think it's very compelling that we might be the aliens. That we might have sort of crash landed here from another planet capable of sustaining life, and that a Superman scenario where
for sure
we came to another planet and there were already some things going on here, and then we fucked with it.
Mm-hmm.
We have aliens. Rocks from Mars here on this planet. We can find they're in the museum. So
I think it's or the alien. I guess now this is the best part. I was just gonna start describing ancient aliens. That's all I was gonna do.
Like this,
I was gonna be like, or there was ancient aliens.
Well, that's
that created us.
There's that's directed panspermia, as they did so wonderful in Prometheus, and then there's panspermia
is fascinating.
Oh my, I love that scene. Oh, I
also love the idea of just like stuff falling off a comet that's got
that's
DNA
just regular old panspermia.
Well, we know that all of the water on Earth came from outside of the solar system, or outside of the sun mass that most of the things in the solar system are formed from. The cooled off solar matter. That all the water on Earth came from being bombarded by comets over the course of billions of years. And there is a compelling case for life came to Earth on comets the same way water did through fungus that travel very well through space. But
totally plausible.
You can't rule it out. Okay, I'm going to fall back on a sawhorse.
That's the name of his show. Can't rule it out with James Adomian. Thank you for calling. I'll tell you what, you can't rule it out.
Can't rule it
Next
out.
caller.
It's a great catchphrase, and it validates people who call up with a bunch of crazy.
Yeah, totally.
It's it's also great. One way to end a conversation.
It's so good. Yeah,
can't rule it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Open investigation. I'm calling for it.
We're going to take another break. When we come back, it's time for this week's terrifying tale. Okay, everybody. It's time for this week's installment of Terrifying Tales from Zombie Bigfoot's Cryptid Crypt. And tonight we have a very strange encounter that came out of Guadalupe, Nuevo Leon, Mexico back in 2004. Now, James, you called Believe It on witches during Bullshit or Believe It. What's when you think of witches, what do you think?
I mean, I'm talking about people who practice witchcraft.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Exist. I know some of them.
Yeah,
flying witches, maybe, James.
Flying?
Yeah.
I think that sounds like a tall tale.
Well, get ready then to strap on your stilts, because this is the story of the Witch of Guadalupe, aka the Witch of Monterrey.
Oh, I'm stoked.
So during the early morning of January 16th, 2004, around 3:15 a.m., a 21-year-old police officer, Leonardo Samaniego, had a close encounter with a flying humanoid that he identified as a bruja, or witch. Now, Brujas seem to be pretty mainstream supernatural figures in Mexico. I could be generalizing here, but a quick Googs, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. You can find a lot of Bruja sightings on YouTube. James, have you ever heard of this phenomenon? Is this ringing any bells?
Yes. A bruja or a brujo in English, it's like a witch or a wizard.
Yes.
And I tend to believe that the human species creates remarkable figures that some people call wizards or witches and some people call prophets or shamans, and that it's just a rare sort of heightened ability or power.
Love it.
That everybody has, but some people have a heightened version of it.
Maybe our guest this week has? Maybe?
Can't rule it out.
Can't rule it out. Okay, so brujas or witches in Mexican culture are pretty similar to their American counterparts, often clad in black and wearing cloaks and sometimes pointy hats. But in some stories, brujas have the ability to shapeshift into owls. In other tales, they are very bird-like when they're witching about, complete with black feathery wings, red eyes, and talons. More like how you'd picture, the harpies of Greek mythology. Orbs or mysterious lights that we might categorize as UFO sightings are sometimes also considered to be the sign of witchcraft in Mexico. And so as a result, some eyewitness accounts of witches could also be fairly categorized as UFO sightings.
That's right. They kind of work vice versa, right? I remembered this case and I always thought it was like a UFO case, but then when I looked in, it was like a witch, but yes.
Now, I'm going to take a moment here to tell James that I sent him an email with a picture and a YouTube link that we're going to get to in a minute. And
do I need to click on them? Because I saw them.
You can. You don't have to click on the YouTube link yet. Everyone else, this will be in the show notes. Okay. And the photos will be on our Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club if you want to watch along with us. So here we go. This is the meat of the story. In the early hours of January 16th, Samaniego was doing his usual nightly patrol in Colonia Valles de la Silla. So far, it had been an uneventful evening, but when the young officer turned up Alamo Street, things took a shocking turn. A large, dark object, which he first mistook for a large trash bag, fell from a tree branch, which overhung the road. But before it hit the ground, it stopped a few feet above the road and slowly turned to face the police car.
Branches don't do that.
Trash bags don't do that.
Trash bags don't do that.
Samaniego could not believe what he saw next. These are his words. It was a woman, all dressed in black, that fell from the tree, but she didn't touch the ground, just remained floating several feet above the ground. I saw her very well, and she landed softly on the ground and stood there looking at me. She was trying to cover her face from the lights of her car. I think they were bothering her. I could see two big black eyes on her, completely black, without eyelids, and her skin was dark brown. She was dressed in black with a cloak and a cape like a witch, and she seemed very upset by the light. When you hear him tell the story, he even uses the gesture of Dracula will do when there's sunlight beaming at him, throwing the cloak in front of his eyes. The entity, seemingly upset by the bright headlights of the car, lunged at the hood of the vehicle, beating against the glass and clawing at the windshield, trying to get it at Samaniego. He says, she threw herself against my car very fast, falling on the car and hitting the windshield. She was flying very fast, and it only took a second to hit the windshield glass. I was so shocked by this action that I put the car in reverse and pushed the accelerator, trying to get away while requesting backup assistance over the radio. As Samaniego tried to make his escape, the strange creature flew after him, batting and clawing at the glass, trying to break through to her prey, all the while glaring at him with two big, vacant eyes.
Don't you look at me, you witch! Don't you dare! This is car 54. I need to fucking backup.
She had big black eyes. Everything was black, no eyelids. Her skin was dark brown and her expression was horrible. She was furiously trying to get me with her claws while I was running away in reverse, calling desperately for backup assistance to any units around. The police officer became so frightened that he passed out behind the wheel, the car resting at the end of the street. The last thing Samaniego remembered was the black-eyed gaze of the fearsome witch trying to get him. When he awoke a few minutes later, he was surrounded by fellow officers who had responded to his distress call. There was no witch in sight. Whatever had attacked Samaniego was long gone. An ambulance arrived with the police to attend to the young officer, and not long after that, news crews arrived and interviewed the young man about what he had encountered.
That's good television.
Great television.
My God, I can
Also,
see it in my mind.
How did those news crews get the beat on this witch attack so
He went
quickly?
out of the radio.
Yes, they're just
Smart.
listening to the distress calls. That's true. According to all accounts, Samaniego never wavered on any of the details of the story. He stood by what he saw. He was found to be sober. They did a drug test on him. It all came back negative. And the next day, the police commissioner and the mayor both backed up his character, and they were like, he's a fine young man. We see no reason why he would make up this story.
Oh my God.
So a search party swept Guadalupe that night for any signs of a flying witch, but the entity, whatever it was, could not be found. Samaniego's story spread like wildfire over the next week or so, and it gained traction when a few more eyewitnesses stepped forward to state that they too had seen the strange flying humanoid dressed in a black cape.
Surrender, Dorothy!
Among them were 3 other police officers, one from Catarina and 2 from Regina, who had seen the creature 3 days prior but kept quiet about it for fear of looking crazy and losing their jobs. A few civilian eyewitnesses came forward as well, one of whom was a woman named Alicia Herrera from Colonia de Playa. She claimed that she and her brother had seen the witch flying around in the daytime and that it was weird. She added that her brother was so shook from the sighting that he was sick for almost a week later. Imagine being so scared of a witch that you're just throwing up for 7 days.
That's metal.
Eyewitness video of the alleged witch was broadcast on the local evening news, showing a dark, blurry form hovering around the skies above Monterrey. Now, why I could not find the actual video from 2004, I did get a photo of it, which I'm gonna throw up on the Instagram. Sent you guys. This is like it's a screen grab from a news. It's just a black blob. Blue sky, black blob.
Yeah, very trash bag like.
Very trash bag like. Really hard to get any. This is so zoomed in.
There's no
can't tell.
significant details from this picture. I mean,
but it doesn't
fill in the blanks. Your mind should fill in the blanks.
It doesn't rise to the level of purity that I expect from verified, unidentified flying object evidence.
So while I was looking at the story, I did recall a similar video from 2006 that was taken in Monterrey, Mexico. I mean, just southwest of where the 2004 incident took place. I mean, where the 2004 thing happened is basically a suburb of Monterrey.
Oh, really?
It allegedly shows a dark form wearing a pointy hat flying across some hills. Okay, we're going to take a look at it. And just so everyone knows, the X-Files music will start blaring once you start playing. I think it's
going to hit that sound. Yeah.
So we'll take a look at it, and then I'm going to let James and Bryce decide what they're looking at here. If you click on that YouTube link, and
we can watch it now.
Yeah, take a look. This is
Right,
just the raw footage.
Mute. Okay, mute. See if I can beat it so it doesn't come.
So the following footage was shot in the mountains of a nearby village in Monterrey, Mexico, seemingly
you
showing...
say we don't need the sound.
We don't need the sound. You're just looking...
The Witch of Monterrey.
Now, it's
the
just...
following footage was shot in the mountains of a nearby village in Monterrey, Mexico, seemingly showing the footage of a flying entity roaming. This is what I remember. This is fucked up.
So
I love this.
This is just another black blob, but you can kind of like...
I see the pointy hat.
If you use your mind's eye, you can see a hat and maybe a broomstick, and
it continues through a couple of different lighting differently lit parts of the background.
Yes. It's silhouetted against the sky, and then you see it against the hillside, and this thing just continues to kind of float in a lateral line.
Is that still the subject, the supposed bruja, the white thing now that we're following?
Yes, this is considered. This video is called "The Witch of Monterrey, Mexico."
Why did it go from black to white?
Well, It's because it was silhouetted against the
I
bright,
see.
bright sky.
I see now.
But this is
Okay.
a different case in the same area
I understand that.
2 years later. So,
But for a minute there, I thought that was somebody maybe hiking but no, this is the Bruja. Wow.
yeah, and
this
if you
is-
skip ahead, you'll see it pull out from around 219 or
Yeah.
the 221 mark. You'll see it pull off, and then it's
Okay, I'm gonna go
silhouetted
there.
against the sky again.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know, James. What do you make of this?
Weird.
I want to know how far it goes. Okay. So, I mean, first of all, the original thing could have inspired a panic and a series of joke incidents,
Sure.
and copycats and so forth. And the original incident, I'm being skeptical right now.
Yes, that's fine.
The original incident could have been a dream. Someone who's very tired, and in his mind, he passed out and woke up. But it could very well be that he passed out and had a vivid dream of a witch, and then being trained, reflexively went for his radio and actually did call it in while he was dreaming.
Sure, yeah, like a hallucination. I mean, it's 3:15 in the morning.
Yeah, sleepwalking and things like that, where you actually do things when you're asleep. So he might have imagined it dreaming and then gone for the radio and been like, I'm being attacked by a witch. And then that's why the guys showed up, the other police officers.
But what do you make of the other people coming forward and saying, I saw something too?
And
You
what
think
about
mass
this video?
hysteria?
It could be mass hysteria. It could be, teenagers pulling a prank.
Sure.
I guess you got to do a lot. You need a ghost detective. You need a witch detective.
Yeah, I agree.
Someone to show up in town and ask a lot of questions.
Yes,
Well-
I agree, James.
Well, what do you make of that video? What do you think's in that video?
You could do a prank because it's 2 years after. If the town has a urban myth now where people talk about it and joke about it, and there's the witch,
You could pull it off, right?
you could
It's not a-
run a
balloon,
wire. You
a
could run a
balloon.
wire from like the top of one hill down.
As James Adomian would say, what is he says?
That's that famous catchphrase.
Can't rule it out.
Rule it out.
God, that's it. You can't rule it out. You're damn
Either
right.
way.
No, you're totally right.
There is a weird thing though that starts around this time period and seems to be more popular in Mexico and then further south into South America, where people will see hold that thought, Bryce.
Yes.
People will see humanoid forms with like arms and legs just levitating in the sky, floating around, and just kind of taking off as they're just hovering up in the sky. This has become like the flying humanoid phenomenon. And then I remember there was that stuff that was going around LA not too long ago about people seeing Jetpack Man, or a flying man.
Yep.
The Rocketeer. And
Yeah.
that should have we deserved a better explanation for that. If that was that should have like what who was that? And when they caught him, why did they keep it a secret?
I know. See, some people think that he should be included in the flying humanoid phenomenon.
You're
Well,
not
in
wrong.
that case, there's jetpacks then that some people have and test out.
Quiet jetpacks.
So here's sort of my take on what this is. I think you could file this under a UAP. This is an unidentified aerial phenomena. And yes, it morphs and takes on the persona or maybe the shape of a witch, but I think this might be due to time, place, and culture. I think this phenomenon morphs in different societies in different parts of the globe, much like how the Bigfoot phenomena, you see different Bigfoots from all over the world, right? There can't be that many different kinds of Bigfoots, right? So I think this phenomena sort of morphs along with mythologies that intersect. So much like a tulpa or an egregore, this mythology is taking on a life of its
Now,
own.
what mythology do you think it is? Do you think it's UFO mythology, or do you think
I
it's
think it might be
witch mythology?
I think it might be a feedback loop of this witch thing feeding on top of it. You know what I mean? So, if witches are more prominent in that culture and they're feeding on to this idea or this tulpa of a fly, of a shape-shifting witch that goes in the sky, then I could make sense of why you would see that and be able to record it so many times and have different witnesses,
What's weird too, James, in these stories, and you hear it in like the Mothman stories as well, is that
Right,
like
flying
the eyewitness in that 2006 video said that it had the body of a bird that had black feathery wings with an old
Talons.
lady's face.
Right.
But what's funny is
Sounds like an owl.
if you watch the video, there's no wings flapping. It's just levitating. And sometimes in these Mothman and flying humanoid stories, the entity will just levitate like it's just the still image and move away. It actually won't use its wings.
It's a good point.
That could also be a future technology or ancient past technology that we don't know about, where someone can observe by sending imagine an electromagnetic imprint into another time.
Love it.
Another version of reality where they're not really there, but that's how they can observe something.
So it's like a holographic projection through time.
Oh, well, I got to throw out another one because won't witches be mad? Okay, what if it's a brothel?
Be mad, Bryce.
Witches be
mad. Yeah.
What if it's a brothel of brujas in sometime in a liminal space?
Now they are
midnight,
mad.
Okay, and they're going to project an entity out into the space, and it's part of their it's part of a ritual or a ceremony that they're involved in,
a conjuring, if you will.
Yes, and these brujas get together, and for some intent, they send something out into space for people to observe it. Witches
getting involved with aliens is what you're suggesting?
I love that.
Witches say, "Oh, that's good too." God, you're good at this.
Witches versus aliens. We haven't seen that one yet.
That's like a History Channel. If you throw Hitler in there, you've got a History Channel episode.
You know what, James?
Were Hitler's witches in touch with aliens?
We think so.
Hitler's army of witches versus the subterranean aliens. You know what they say about that, James?
You can't. Well, some say
you
can't rule it out.
Can't rule it out. James Adomian, thank you so much for being here. Where can people watch your special and follow you and come see you live? Any of those fun things? We're the second week of October.
Oh yes, here we are, October 8th or something thereabouts.
Yes,
and the best way to see me anywhere in the world is on my new stand-up special that is recently out, called Path of Most Resistance. It's on 800 Pound Gorilla. You can find it through their website, 800poundgorillamedia.com, and it's also streaming free on YouTube. I have the links on my website and also on all my social media. And like on Instagram, for example, I'm at J Adomian. On YouTube, I'm at James Adomian XOXO.
Great.
Most places I'm at J Adomian. And the special is called Path of Most Resistance. You search my name, it's going to come up. It should, unless I've had a SEO
things work around here
from figures trying to destroy me, but from the ancient shape-shifting time traveler.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're after you now.
But it's an hour. It's an hour and 5 minutes. It's very fun. It's a kind of a survey of a lot. It's a lot of sort of meditations like Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah,
I love it.
Meditations on the media and the world today. And if you want to see me live, I'm on the road a bit. I'm going to be in Atlanta in November. I have other road dates that are going to go up on jamesadomian.com regularly and on my Linktree. And you can follow me. I'm most active on Instagram, but I'm here and there all the time.
I follow James. There's so many funny clips up there, guys. Go watch his special. Go follow him on all the things.
If you see him live, tell him you heard him on the podcast.
He's a spiritual warrior out there fighting the good fight for us.
Yeah.
If he would just take his advice of these
guys,
ascended masters, keep telling him to go on an adventure.
Masters, yeah.
Maybe we'll start a little pool of money.
The bus stop masters. You gotta follow their advice.
Is the one. He is the one. He's waited much longer than he was supposed to in the process.
We tried to wake him up in that house where all those hippies used to hang out.
Yeah, we tried to wake.
We tried
everything.
When that didn't work, we sent him mail and he never opened it.
We let it pile up.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
What a pleasure.
Very fun, Michael. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Bryce.
James Adomian. Who knew that he was a wizard? We had a wizard on the show.
Amazing.
A beardless wizard, although I have seen him sport a beard before, so he might be that space wizard that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast.
Checks out.
checks out. All right, before we head over to Collector's Corner, let's thank some Club Scouts who have recently joined us over on BCC The Other Side. It's time for some Patreon shout-outs.
Woohoo!
Aaron Smith, Cosmeteer.
Thanks, Aaron.
Brian E.B.
Brian, you're the best.
Robert Saunier, Cosmeteer.
Thanks, Robert.
Charlie Gwynn, Cosmeteer.
Thanks, Charlie. I'm not Riley, but we appreciate you guys.
Join us over at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub and unlock total access to BCC with 3 bonus episodes every month, access to the entire exclusive episode archives, the BCC Discord, and more. Upgrade to the Cosmeteer membership to unlock 3 beautiful music tracks from Riley every month, his entire archive, and most importantly, well, I won't say most importantly, but a little gravy on top of that is ad-free episodes.
Ad-free,
guys, exclusive video episodes are coming, so stay tuned for that. And, we're doing Zombie Bigfoot's Crypt to Crypt over on the other side as well, so come join us. Okay, let's swing by Collector's Corner. I want to thank, once again, everybody who's come by my eBay shop. I had a somewhat of a celebrity guest appearance. Michael Carlson, former guest and co-host of podcast The Ride.
Wow.
He didn't know it was me, bought a Lando Calrissian figure that I had up there.
That's so
saw the
funny.
name and address, and I was like, and I texted him, and I was like, "This you?" And then we met in
that
the
is so funny.
We met in the Burbank post office up near the airport in Burbank, and we had like a CD action figure drop off where I handed him
that
some.
is so good. That makes me so
Very
happy.
fun. I love that people I now know have bought from my shop. So I'm going to put a link to that in the bio. Really, the big plug of the week is from Mr. Bryce Johnson. Bryce, I hand it over to you. What's happening on Friday?
Oh, God. Friday. Let me get my glasses. Terrifier 3 hits theaters. If you can stomach through the first 10 minutes, then maybe you can make it through to the end. Let's see. Find out October 11th. I'll be there. Can't wait.
Is that what the sunglasses are for, to kind of shield you from the gross gore?
Well, actually, I was in Spirit Halloween, and right up front, boom, Art the Clown. I was like, oh shit! I cannot believe I was not aware of Art the Clown. But look, it's got blood all over it. These things are great, so I had to get me some Art the Clown
Fun.
Happy Sunflower
I love
sunglasses.
it. Yeah, so if you're listening to this episode the day it comes out, October 9th, on October 11th, this Friday, you can see Bryce in the movies. And if scary movies are too much for you, well, guess what? You can see Bryce on your TVs at home, because you can still watch Expedition Bigfoot season 5, right?
Yeah, from the comfort of your couch, I'll walk you through the woods of Northern California. So there's that.
That's is that on HBO Max by the time this drops?
That absolutely should be
Mac?
on HBO Max.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Max. It's out on Discovery Plus right now, and I believe it should be hitting Max shortly as well. So
it's very fun. You get to see Bryce scared in the woods, and
so much fun,
dude. I watched maybe episode 6, the most recent episode, that ends with like you maybe 10 feet away from a Bigfoot.
Oh my God, so much fun,
in the
right?
dark?
Yes. Are you talking about when I'm spraying?
Yes, Bryce sprays Bigfoot piss in the woods, and
pheromones.
then he stays
Primate
up late.
pheromones. What?
And you said there was urine mixed in there. The
My own urine,
announcer,
my magical urine.
and then there's a thermal of something peeking out from behind a tree, looking at Bryce, and he's very close to it, and he's getting very scared. You were very scared. I love it.
Oh, so much fun, man! Oh, I cannot tell you how much fun I had out there.
Well, we'll
Even
talk
though
about
it's
it.
so scary,
soon.
man. I would do it again tomorrow, man. It's just like I guess that's like skydiving, right? You do it once, you're like, that was crazy scary. When are we going back?
Well, we'll talk about the whole experience soon, I'm sure.
Great.
So get ready for that. We want all of our Club Scouts to get a chance to watch it for themselves. Okay,
absolutely.
We're gonna cross over to the other side for a special Zombie Bigfoot Crypt to Crypt conversation. about nightmares. If we don't see you on the other side, we'll see you back here next week for an all new episode of BCC. Until then, good night. We haven't done our scary names. We'll bring them back.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Michael McMillan, Riley Bray, and Bryce Johnson. Our show is engineered, produced, and scored by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters. Follow them on Spotify. Want more BCC? For exclusive full-length episodes every month and total access to the other side, check out patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.